Good evening. Welcome to TVB News. Starting today, the government's latest regulations on ride-hailing cars come into effect, including the increase of fines for the illegal carriage of passengers. Some ride-hailing drivers say several of their colleagues have already ceased providing services, while many note they had to wait significantly longer today on their ride-hailing platforms. Timothy Lee has the story.
The police have strengthened their efforts to tackle illegal ride-hailing services in recent years, having made several arrests of drivers who offered illegal carriage services. With the implementation of the government's latest ride-hailing regulations, drivers without designated licenses could lose their driving qualifications for up to 3 years if found guilty. Some full-time ride-hailing drivers say they will accept fewer orders as a result of the measure. Mr. X, who refuses to provide his name, says he will be more careful when providing ride-hailing services since he could be banned from driving for at least 12 months, and that he's worried his services may leave him with a criminal record. He further notes he's unsure how the government will proceed with the regulations. TVB News tried to catch a ride from Chengguo to Kuntong via various ride-hailing platforms earlier today. With Uber, the waiting time was significantly longer than before, while no rides were available on AMAP. The government earlier estimated the city currently has around 30,000 part-time ride-hailing drivers. Authorities are set to issue 10,000 ride-hailing licenses to accommodate this figure. But many drivers, such as Mr. X, who applied for the program, are concerned about securing the license. He says there's a lot of competition in this line of work, and he may have to consider another job in the future. Meanwhile, the government mandates ride-hailing drivers who wish to get their license must first pass a written test issued by the Transport Department. Comprising 2 sections, the first section consists of knowledge about routes and customer service, while the second part focuses on user guidelines. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
An assistant officer is sentenced 3 years in prison after leading several inmates to probe a young prisoner with a wooden stick at Peacock Correctional Institution 3 years ago. The district court states that they will not tolerate staff who break the law. Tam Lik Chung, a former assistant officer at the Peacock Correctional Institution, pleaded guilty to initiating assault towards an 18-year-old along with 3 other inmates. They probed the anus of the victim with a wooden stick in December 2023. District Judge Yu Fan-shi notes that the gravity of the case, stating Tam abused his authority and imposed a 3-year prison. The court convicts 2 of the inmates, adding an additional 6 months to one of their sentences and 4 months to the other who admitted to the charge. The 2 other defendants have been acquitted, including a retired assistant officer. The victim has fully recovered after undergoing 2 surgeries. 2 employees from fashion brand Chanel's Hong Kong operations are found guilty of stealing more than 700 luxury items originally meant to be destroyed, receive prison sentences of 5 years and 3 months and 7 years, respectively. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Yulun and Chen Ka-wai, the 2 defendants who worked as employees at a Chanel warehouse in Chengyi, were found guilty of conspiracy to steal last week and remains remanded in custody. According to findings in the case, for commercial reasons, Chanel would destroy up to 20,000 of its outdated items biannually using shredders. In 2017, the 2 employees conspired with 2 other colleagues to steal Chanel items at the Chengyi warehouse, with plans to sell them at a later time. The stolen lot included 123 wallets and 601 handbags, with an estimated worth of over $19 million. But the group was caught in the act by an assistant manager as they were transporting the items and were subsequently reported to police. High Court Judge Yao Tak-hong stresses Ng was the mastermind behind the criminal act, given he was the only one who had the password to access the warehouse at the time. Ng also suggested paying each of his conspirators as much as $50,000 to steal the luxury goods. Others in the group accused him of instructing them to transport the stolen items. Chung, who was not working for Chanel at the time of the case, was responsible for handling the stolen goods via a rental truck and a storage facility in Kuntong. Taking into consideration the stolen items were immediately returned to Chanel upon the discovery of the crime, and the fact the sentencing of the case was delayed for a decade, the judge reduces the sentences by 6 to 9 months. Ng was ultimately sentenced to 7 years in prison, while Cheung was given a sentence of 5 years and 3 months. The two other defendants, Ho Chung-shan and Ho Zi-yin, who pleaded guilty earlier, were each sent to prison for 4 years. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Police say a fertility clinic employee who allegedly mixed up IVF embryo biopsy samples and subsequently lied to cover up her error has left for Malaysia. AUG Fertility, located in Central, alerted the police after receiving reports that multiple embryo biopsy samples do not match the patient records in May and June. The police traced the error to a Malaysian employee responsible for extraction and transportation of embryo to the Chinese University of Hong Kong for testing. The police then took a caution statement from her in late July. It was later found that she lied in an attempt to cover up her mistake. The employee returned to Malaysia the day after a meeting with the police. The police issued a wanted notice for the employee and is pursuing the case as fraud. The case is primarily believed to have no connection with human embryo trafficking. A suicide bomber attack at an anti-militant rally in northwestern Pakistan kills at least 14 people and injures 24 more. The majority of them are civilians and police officers. This comes as Pakistan experiences a surge in militant attacks in recent years, with authorities having recorded more than 3,000 terrorism incidents since January. The attack occurred in Kabul, a town in Swat Valley, where protesters gathered near a police station chanting anti-militant slogans and demanding peace. They accuse authorities of failing to act against militants, saying it was the state's responsibility to ensure security and eliminate militancy. Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari condemns the bombing and expresses deep sorrow over the lost lives. No group is claiming responsibility for the bombing, but suspicion is likely to fall on the Pakistani Taliban. Welcome back. 6 days after magnitude 7.1 earthquake hit Japan's southwestern region of Kumamoto Prefecture, the country's Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi arrives to inspect the devastation and evacuation efforts. Thousands continue to live in shelters and clear debris as the Japan Meteorological Agency reports temperatures of up to 40 degrees Celsius on Monday, stoking fears of heat-related illness. Alina Wang has more.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi makes her way to Kumamoto Prefecture to inspect post-quake efforts following a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that hit the area 6 days ago. There, she sits down with local authorities to reveal help needed going forward to aid those affected by the quakes as they piece their lives back together. This as more than 8,500 people are staying in evacuation shelters, while the government begins procedures for them to move to hotels and other lodging facilities in the cities of Uto, Uki, and Yasuhiro, and the town of Hikawa for secondary evacuation. In addition, 50 makeshift housing units will be built in Uki and 20 in Hikawa. The death toll from the quake stands at 38. Of the victims, a woman in her 70s, who is believed to have died of heat stroke, may be recognized as the first casualty related to the latest disaster. The risk of heat-related illness and possible death rises as temperatures soar, and some sleep in their cars as they await lodging arrangements from authorities. Alina Wang, TVB News.
The death toll from the dramatic border rush at Spain's North African territory of Ceuta in recent days stands at 72 and is fit to rise further. The influx has ignited a diplomatic row in Europe about migration crisis, drawing a papal appeal to solutions to peace and stability. The Spanish civil guard ships continue searching the waters for bodies as the initial chaos of the border breach gives way to humanitarian limbo for the young Moroccans stranded on the streets of Ceuta. Their unauthorized arrivals swelled the population of a city of 84,000 by more than half. Authorities say most of the roughly 60,000 migrants who swam or walked across the frontier had returned to Morocco by Sunday. Among those returnees was an injured young man who was seen with a leg in cast as he was lifted into a waiting vehicle. Morocco's Interior Ministry states the recent mass crossings to Spain's Ceuta and Melilla were fueled by misinformation on social media, human trafficking networks, and misinterpretation of a Spanish ruling that bans immediate returns of migrants intercepted at sea. In the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV appeals for solutions for peace, stability and justice in Ceuta, saying during the Sunday prayer that he has been following with concern the alarming situation in the enclave. Let us continue praying for peace, he says, so that wars may cease in the world and that diplomatic solutions to conflicts may be found. UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham notes his government contacted Madrid to understand the situation, which sparked worries among European nations about the security of the continent's borders.
I've exchanged messages with the Spanish Prime Minister, and the news from Spain is that around 98% of the people who came into Spanish territory last week have now been returned to Morocco, and there's an agreement between Spain and Morocco to that effect. So that substantially deals with the immediate issue, but of course there's a broader issue about the Schengen area and our relationship with it, and of course I would want to be in regular dialogue with the EU on those issues.
A construction site safety manager dies after falling from scaffolding in Kowloon. The Labour Department arrives at the scene to investigate the cause of the incident. The police received a report of a 39-year-old falling 10 stories from 14th floor scaffolding down to 4th floor. Firefighters rushed to the scene and transported him by an ambulance while using a resuscitation mask before he was pronounced dead at the hospital. The construction site is formerly the Regal Oriental Hotel, which is now being renovated into a student dormitory. The weather remains unstable after the Hong Kong Observatory issued an amber rainstorm earlier this morning. Conditions are expected to improve by the weekend. In July, there were 13 days on which the observatory issued rainstorm warnings, totaling 25 signals. The total rainfall reached more than 790 millimeters, the second highest total rainfall for July since records began in 1884. According to the Water Supplies Department, as of last Monday, the total water storage in reservoirs exceeded 500 million cubic meters. Among the 17 reservoirs in Hong Kong, 11 have reached their full capacity. A broad trough of low pressure is bringing showers and thunderstorms to the coast of Guangdong and the northern part of the South China Sea. Due to the outer subsidence from Typhoon Dolphin, the open areas of Hong Kong are expected to see high temperatures and thunderstorms. The Hong Kong Youth Military Summer Camp and the Hong Kong University Students Military Experience Camp commenced today. It has been running for 18 consecutive years, with 2026 marking its 19th edition and its first 14-day event at Sun Wai Barracks. Hiba Khan has more.
This is the first year both camps are running together and for 14 days instead of 10. A combination of 350 students from more than 100 primary and secondary schools and 150 university students from across Hong Kong will be partaking in the camps. It is also the 99th anniversary of the founding of the People's Liberation Army, making this year's camps even more special, with new additions like an exhibition center and an activity that will take students cruising along Victoria Harbour aboard a military ship. During the interview and selection process, the garrison expected deterministic attitudes from students and a genuine willingness to participate to better themselves.
I expect them to not to give up on any future opportunity, also like obstacles and struggles in their life. Not to give up. If you cannot find the answer or method to solve some question or problems at the current moment, you can look for your peers during the camp or look for the students and also find ways to solve it. never give up.
To ensure the success of both camps, the garrison has selected highly qualified officers and soldiers to serve as training instructors and has provided targeted training tailored to the physiological and psychological characteristics of students at different levels. Special characteristics of the camps include a ban on the use of cell phones for the entire 2 weeks. The garrison mentions that there was no confiscation of phones, but rather students willingly handed in their devices to officers as a show of eagerness to participate in the activity. The garrison hopes that through this 14-day camp, students will deepen their understanding of the country and its military, as well as learn basic military skills, enhance their discipline, and strengthen their willpower. Hiba Khan, TVB News.
The University of Hong Kong is hosting the 7-day Asian Science Camp. It brings together over 300 high school and university students from nearly 30 countries and regions, selected by their governments. Ani Zeldin has more.
This is the first time the University of Hong Kong is hosting the Asian Science Camp. During the event, participants will take part in lectures, scientific discussions, and practical activities. During the 7-day program, they will have the opportunity to learn from Nobel laureates and leading scientists from around the world. In his opening speech, HKU President and Vice Chancellor Zhang Xiang says AI is for the first time expanding the mental capacity of the human race. He hopes students could look beyond science and challenge themselves and the pioneers as the world is changing fast.
Science provides the solutions. We invent things, we make our life easier and much more efficient and so on. But complexity comes also from human-human interaction. So looking beyond science and also humanity is very, very critical.
Last week, Zhang announced plans to retire. HKU Vice President Professor Jay Siegel praises Zhang for his contributions and says the recruitment is ongoing.
Professor Zhang will be retiring at the end of his second term. That's a perfectly natural thing to take place. I think we'll see in the next 24 months even more advances. We have some great recruits on the horizon.
Asian Science Camp was initiated by 2 Nobel laureates, Yuan Zheli and Masayoshi Kushiba. It has been held annually since 2007 to foster exchange and collaboration among young scientists across Asia. Andy Zeldin, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.